I think we have to go to Dr. Emre Demirezen.
Yes,
I
we will.
I
We need to go for him.
pronounce it well, and
All right.
he will talk about microclimatic environment impact on ground-based solar photovoltaic solar power plant installation. It's very interesting. It's always in the same philosophy, and I know him in Ankara during the PV conference. I guess he's a member of this conference and organizer. Is it? Or
Yeah.
yeah.
He's there.
So please let me talk, please. I just want to give some detail about him. He received his PhD degree from the ME2 Earth System Science Department in 2022. He worked on a recent environment issue caused by solar PV power plant installation called photovoltaic heat island effect. Maybe he can explain to us this stuff. Prior to that, he first worked as an optical designer and environmental test engineer in the private defense sector in Technopolis of Middle East Technical University. That's a private university, I guess, is it? Yeah. He's a researcher and engineer conducting the interdisciplinary air science system science study on climate change and the environmental modeling, land atmosphere interaction and renewable utilization technologies. So there are many things in his bio. So he conducted several jobs and responsibility like module technology and solar power plant installation, or writing R&D project proposal, academic conference secretary. I guess he talked about PVSEC, editorial board member and publication process. And so he's very young, but he is very active. Congratulations. So we would like to hear you, Doctor, and to know about your activities on climate and the environment impact of ground-based solar photovoltaic power plant installation. So the floor is yours. Thank you very much for coming and for giving us this time.
Greetings from Turkey, and thank you for these kind words, Dr. Enoy. We have very good relations with you from the previous PVCon conferences. So we are very glad to hear again these kind words. I hope our collaboration will continue progressively in the near future. As you told in the beginning of this presentation, actually my focus point, my actually also the thesis study is focused on a different environmental issue, because generally we know the power plants, solar power plants, as clean energy technologies, but also some side effects. Sometimes they can be detectable by the researchers. So also we need to analyze them. We need to also analyze their limitations, and also we need to improve these technologies by considering these side effects. In this presentation, so I try to explain one of these popular environmental phenomena.
You want to share it now?
Of course. Now I'll share my screen with you and also the presentation. Yes, I think this one. I think now you can see my presentation.
Yes, you have just to put it in the yes, now it's fine.
Okay, now I can also open a laser pointer for some issues. Yes, my general research topic is focused on photovoltaic heat island effect, but this effect also is caused by some microclimatic and environmental issues. So we need to define these also effects to understand also the other side effects of the microclimatic issues caused by PV power plants. Why PV power plants? I'll also explain these details in the next slides. This is actually based on a study from ODTÜ, Middle East Technical University, our university, and the other co-authors also is my advisors from MITU, also Dr. and I now know Bülent Akınoğlu, Professor Akınoğlu. Now, yes, we'll see some content in this presentation. I'll first introduce some climatic change details and share some also graphs, some also figures related to this popular phenomena, worldwide phenomena. And after that, some, as all you know, but I can also introduce some solar energy power conversion techniques and some utilization methods. And after that, why these power plants also may cause some environmental impacts. I try to explain in a general manner. And after that, I'll introduce the heat island effect in a much more specific manner. Also, I'll also briefly explain our field study and methodology, how we can detect this issue. Especially, this is the first study conducted in Turkey, and also some in the last number of the studies, we can also find some studies related to this environmental issue in literature, in international literature. Some analysis comparison results, again, these are coming from my thesis results, some field data. Also, I'll share them with you. And last but not least, conclusions and recommendations. I'll also share these details again with you. Generally, we know the Earth's energy budget graphs. These are the popular graphs because of the radiation balance and also because of the land surface interactions. We need to understand these interactions in an efficient manner because the disturbance and a broken chain in this also interactions between these interactions. Because of these broken problems, these problematic situations, we experience the different environmental effects like air pollution, like water treatment problems, like climate change also. So we need to see the whole panorama in the previous slides. And also we need to understand the climate system again. Generally, you know these type of graphs. And we need to also diversify the climate and microclimate. Yes, we know the climate is a region's long-term weather patterns. They present these type of weather patterns. And throughout the season, sunshine hours, humidity, and the frequency of the extreme weathers, we need to see the whole picture for the climate. But as for the microclimate, it's especially a specific climate type, a distinctive climate type for a small scale, a specific area. Generally, these areas' dimensions can be start from the garden size to a bigger size of, for example, valley of a city. Generally, not more than an atmospheric part of a city you can define a microclimate. But for example, for a region, for example, like Turkey, you need to again define the climate issues, not microclimate. So generally, the city type climates or the smaller parts of a, for example, city like these districts, like towns, you need to you can again also define the microclimates. These are again a popular graph, you know, the Köppen-Geiger climate classification map. And these also graphs are diversified from the distribution of the vegetation around the world. And a popular again phenomena, fern effect for a mountain. You also can understand the also different parts of a microclimatic effect from these popular and also a basic example. These all climate zones generally experience different type of these microclimatic conclusions, like fern effect, like, for example, wind corridors, like, for example, solar radiation and albedo effects of land surfaces. So microclimatic issues is also popular as much as like the general climatic issues. Also, yes, we currently experience the climate change processes, but what is the perturbations? What is the interactions between these parameters affecting the climate change? We know the radiative forcing problems, also natural influences, but mostly human activities, of course. These activities has fastened the process, especially since the Industrial Revolution times. So we also now can integrate the system, for example, like mitigation processes, biochemical feedbacks. The whole picture develops one by one with parameters day by day. So you need to again extend these graphs, and you need to understand the whole analysis day by in a more bigger with a bigger picture day by day. Radiative forcing also is an important parameter for my thesis. I'll explain in detail. You also know the radiative forcing process for the greenhouse gases. Also the most affecting one is again the carbon dioxide problem. This is like generally a 30-year graph, but then also see the whole picture. For example, from the Industrial Revolution times, you'll see an specific increase, especially since 1960s. Also, these are some socioeconomic pathway scenarios or representative pathway scenarios. Again, after 220. So this is the most. This is I think the most optimistic scenario, but these are the pessimistic scenarios. When you see the upper levels of these scenarios, also the bigger problems, the more difficult problems also are waiting for us to solve them. So we need to again understand these scenarios in a very well manner. These are from again some regional scenarios from Turkey, temperature also projections, and also precipitation comparisons. Less precipitation along the Mediterranean also coastal regions, but for example for the northern parts more precipitations, more floods maybe, but also more droughts for southern regions. Unfortunately, these are expected scenarios. So we need to again need the solar energy, we all know, and also renewables. We also experience their increase day by day again. We are monitoring these experiences, especially for the last 20 years. The whole world, I think, monitor, compare, interact with these graphs, share these graphs, generally in different reports, in different energy reports, like, for example, International Energy Agency's reports. So these graphs also is a good reference to take, to be taken. Again, solar PV has a specific also importance, a significant part between these renewable energy technologies, and also their prices reduces again year by year with the improvements in new technologies, again in solar photovoltaic and also the other for example renewable energy types. Concentrating also experiences a very efficient decrease in the again reduction scenarios for again levelized costs of the energy. These are very popular graphs generally, but again I'll maybe briefly explain. For Turkey, we also try to increase our capacity installations for solar power plants, also wind, geothermal, and the other renewable energy types. And this is the panoramic also graph from October 2020 graph. yes, still natural gas or coal, for example, dominates the sector, but we are trying to also extend the solar energy and especially wind energy parts. We generally know these technologies. Yes, photovoltaics generally focused on the NP junctions and also cells, solar cells, but also concentrated solar power systems are more famous in industrial processes because these processes requires more energy. But photovoltaic cells also the dimensions of these cells can be reduced. These PV panels arrays from the cell to the whole system. Generally, the most maybe the famous installation parts now are allocated by solar photovoltaic power plants. Now agricultural uses like agro PV applications, rural side applications, floating PV applications. Generally, these type of power plants are constructed by many part of these panels, as you all know. And we also again distribute electricity by the grid grid connection systems, off-grid or on-grid systems. We all know that. And also off-grid and some the components of these off-grid and on-grid systems you can see here. We know that this capacity development increases again year by year in according to some scenarios around the world. We can see these developments. Yes, it's an important development for a PV utility scenario for commercial uses, for residential uses, for clean energy projections, scenarios. It's a very good scenario. It's a very good picture to understand. Yes, we know this. Also, again, another graph from some country-based panorama for solar energy technology and solar PV addition potentials. Turkey is also here. But again, the China, US, and India dominate the sector now. But what is this environmental impacts? Yes, we know their sizes and their dimensions. Their also numbers increase day by day when they cover more land area, larger land areas, and new new side effects wait for us. For example, visual impacts like air pollution, not air pollution so much, but due to the manufacturing and transportation maybe operations, environmental noise, waste management is important because of the chemical substances used in PV cells production, for example, or PV panel production. And model recycling also again gain importance day by day again. We generally know this type of issues, but especially for the area coverage and land type problems, these problems in environmental impacts actually also gives attraction and also again you can see from these categories. For example, for land surface and occupation and land transformation issues, this interesting phenomena, photovoltaic heat island effect, actually has been debated, has been also reviewed in the literature as for last 30 years. It's a long time, but with less numbers, generally not so recognizable during this time. So because of this issue, we understand this issue, we first need to understand the heat island effect. This term heat island effect describes the built-up areas that are hotter than the nearby rural areas and generally described for the cities, very populated cities like Istanbul, New York, maybe in some cities in Morocco and the other parts of the many parts of the world. These annual temperatures generally for 1 million, having 1 million citizens in a city can be, for example, between 1 and 3 centigrades warmer than its surroundings. But in during the night times, these differences can be very high, like 20 centigrades. In U.S. environmental 12 centigrades, and U.S. Environmental Protection Agency generally also give reference this type of studies in the literature. Some problems like heat-related illnesses, water quality problems, greenhouse gas emissions, again, they can be induced because of this heat island effect. This is a panorama, is a picture, again, a representative picture, also showing the heat island effect. In the canopy layer of a city, you can feel this effect as increasing when you realize the increase of the air temperature because of the long wave radiation between the building corridors. Also some problems caused by the urban canyons, anthropogenic heat, many types of these radiation types or emission types. You can heat up the city. The city can be maybe warmer than its rural, for example, neighboring surroundings. Because of this shape, because of this island shape, we also call this effect as heat island effect. This is the biggest problem for a surface because we experience this heat island effect because of the albedo reduction due to the a lower coefficient, reflection coefficient of a surface. This surface experiences with this also heat island effect. This is the basic also definition for albedo reflectivity, but for the cities, you can see these also surface type changes, and due to these type changes, heat island effect may occur because of the lower short wave, for example, radiation reflection. Also long wave emissions due to the heating of a surface, for example, or atmosphere due to the long wave cooling of a surface. Different also in the induction sources may be experienced in this heat island effect phenomena. Also like cars, different also effects can be seen. And formation types categorization, very different techniques the researchers can measure the heat islands. Automobiles, for example, country layer urban heat islands, but aircrafts or boundary layer urban heat islands of a city, the upper atmospheric parts of a city. So different also measurement techniques, the city planners and the engineers, and for example, the weather engineers, meteorologists also can measure this heat island effect for the cities. But as for the photovoltaic heat island effect, interestingly, this effect also is detected, has been also debated, has been discussed in the literature, not more than 20 years, I can say. But also the similar radiation losses or similar physical heat losses, heat releases also can be monitored on the surface of a module. Because of some conductive heat losses, heat radiation, long wave radiation losses, and also, for example, again, a convective heat transfer by air circulation, wind flows. So we know that a big part of the module temperature may be lost due to these also heat losses from surfaces or from the materials assemblies of the PV modules. We know that different types of the also modules and different efficiencies, except these efficiencies, a bigger part of the module energy can be consumed as heat. Because of this heating issue, both the solar cell producers, R&D researchers, engineers try to also increase their efficiency, as you all know. and also they are trying to increase these they try to improve the panel and assembly quality of these panels. When we also measure, for example, with a thermal camera, when you measure a photovoltaic panel, you also detect some defections, some also electrical operating weakness of some modules, and due to these problems, you can define a temperature coefficient for PV modules, power electric losses and power electric gains. When you consider the room temperature, a standard room temperature, you can consider these losses and also gains from electricity or another problems. So when I come to our study, we have tried to understand this issue in Kütahya city in Turkey. This is a photovoltaic power plant constructed in Sekban Demirli village. It's a rural village, also outside the Kütahya city. These are the capacity values and some commercial also panels. You can see their efficiency, tilt angle. Before the construction, the surface is generally based on these type of famous soil, sandy soil parts, generally covered by this type of sandy soil parts. But after the construction, dark color PV modules also covered the whole surfaces. And after that, we also put some weather stations here. As you can see, this is the Sekban Demirli village, and this is the PV power plant. And try to also measure these parameters, weather parameters. And air temperature is the most important parameter for understand the canopy layer heat island effect caused by this photovoltaic power plant. So generally we take this data for 3 years between these years. And these are some detailed graphs, so I don't want to take your time so much, but these are our weather stations. This is the outside weather station. This is the central weather station installed at the center of the PVP field. And this is the northern part station of the PV power plant. These 3 stations, especially these 3 ones, they collected the data synchronously also in a synchronized manner for 2 years, because this station could be constructed after these 2 stations, and some also weather monitoring parts. Then the energy also gain data. We can also monitor from the system. And we also took some project support with a collaboration with these institutions. We conducted this project for 3 years. And also we conducted some analysis, for example, the error analysis, because we collect the 3 years data and very long data, so we need to understand their reliability. So we also calculate standard deviation error and the other also parameters. We first found that yes, our data, our field data is reliable. We can say this when we compare the sensor accuracy between the reliability between the sensor accuracy and the confidence interval. And after that, we also conducted some statistical significant tests between the weather stations. And interestingly, the third station, the third one, an interesting station also showed some clues, some interesting clues, pointing to showing the photovoltaic heat island effect, tracking some tracks for photovoltaic heat island effect. The first clue we found in this study with these methods. These are very actually maybe some complicated statistical analysis, but the first analysis was conducted with these tests, and after that, we also conducted some graphical comparisons, and you can see the whole 2-year picture data. This is the PV module graph, the orange graph, the orange line, and the other line is for the ambient temperature, air temperature line. And when you compare these differences between the central station and the outside station, these also indicates these differences. You can especially see during the summer times, you can especially notice the heat island effect because of these temperature differences. But for, during the also winter times, not so specific, we can say. This is the daily graph, only the daily temperature data here. And this for the maximum also monthly temperatures. Again, you can say that always along the 2-year, always the module temperature measured by central station is always higher than the other 2 stations. These are the maximum values. Also, the maximum values supports these are heat island effect detection data. This is for the night graph. Interestingly, yes, cities are more cities also. The heat island effect in the cities can be detectable generally during the night times, but during for the photovoltaic heat island power plant, photovoltaic power plant stations, not so recognizable, detectable during the night times. Generally, very low differences. These difference again between the central station, the colder central station, and the warmer outside station. So generally not so specific. Also, maybe none of these graphs show a photovoltaic heat island effect during the also nighttime, because of the, I think we concluded that because of thermal inertia of a PV module, a fast cooling also capability of a PV module. I think during the night times, generally they already have been cooled down, so they don't cause a photovoltaic heat island effect, and they don't cause an increase in the atmospheric temperatures, equinoctial temperatures. And again, for the nighttime minimum temperatures, especially they are very close to each other by comparing with the daily data. These are not so specific. Also, in addition to this result, for example, this blue part also represents a bigger decrease in the outside central station temperature. So we can say that the nighttime photovoltaic heat island effect not so specific, also cannot be recognizable, observable for these Kütahya power plants, power station, Sekban Demirli power plant station. This is a simulation also, not simulation, I'm sorry, a figure, a representative figure from, again, Sekban Demirli village, a daytime and a nighttime photovoltaic heat island effect observation. This is for the nighttime temperatures, and these are daytime temperatures. From a summertime, again, this is from the November time, November date. Yes, it's a very specific photovoltaic heat island effect during the noontime, but for example, for this graph, when you look at this 2 a.m. data, the central station shows a specific, significant decrease here. A negative photovoltaic heat island effect, interestingly, a colder VS3 station, you can see here. These are diurnal ambient temperature examples. And wind data, we also compared them, but for the wind data, generally, when you look at these data, very an accumulated data here, and between these degrees, when the wind blows from these degrees, they cannot be effective. They cannot be a supportive parameter for reduction of the photovoltaic heat island effect, because these south-facing PV modules cannot be interacted because of their orientation, cannot be interacted with the wind. So I think these wind modules cannot dissipate the heat energy in an efficient manner. This is also wind rose of Sekban Demirli. The dominant, also the prevailing wind direction is northeast. But you can see this northeast part. This is the south part. So module surfaces cannot be interacted, cannot interact with the northeast winds, prevailing northeast winds. Yes, correlation results also I can just skip them, but Spearman correlation and Pearson correlations is important because when you now look at this data, daytime and nighttime, again graphs. Yes, during the daytimes we can also see an interesting relationship. Daytime data is more specific for introducing an interaction, a correlation between module temperature and PI photovoltaic heat information. This is the temperature difference, represents the temperature difference. You can see these increase, decrease, increase, decrease. Generally, a routine also progress you can see here. So we can relate, we understand that we can relate some module parameters and atmospheric parameters between each other, thanks to these methods, Pearson and Spearman correlations. And also again for these are for the nighttime, because of the yes, this one, I'm sorry. Yes, nighttime again, we know that nighttime photovoltaic heat island effect not so specific, but a negative photovoltaic heat island effect, a colder central station, photovoltaic heat islands, power plant station, negative power plant, and a colder power plant. Also part is not so specific for nighttime, we know, but again we can correlate some again months and also a month progress. We can also correlate and represent with these tables. And these are for the wind. Wind is very low has very low correlation coefficients. You can see here. And last but not least, a simulation. Yes, we are the first team to conduct this simulation in Turkey and also in the world, I think, because we also use then software developed in Germany. Is a microclimatic and heat island simulation software. These have some nesting areas, some boundary layers again, some also three-dimensional model system, and this is a holistic microclimatic modeling system. We also input the whole photovoltaic heat island data to this model, and we also verify the occurrence of heat island effect with this program EnviMet. These are the properties, features of EnviMet. You can see some horizontal resolution analysis, a time frame, also capabilities. Again, can be time frame properties in EnviMet, and this is a model architecture. Generally, this program is used for the cities, not for the heat photovoltaic, for example, an effect like photovoltaic heat island effect. But we also use this program for this understanding this effect in a simulation. These are the grid cells. You can define your parameters, your boundary layers for atmospheric conditions of a specific day, for example. And this is the model structure of EnviMet, air wind flow, air temperature and humidity, how these problems, how these models, the sub-models can be solved. By advection diffusion equations, computational fluid dynamics for wind, Navier-Stokes equation, and for radiative fluxes, two-stream approximation. These are all mathematical physical models, as I think you generally know. And this is the basic structure of EnviMet. I'll again skip here. These are our interfaces to analyze the effect. Yes. This is the Google Earth of bitmap of Sekban Demirli. We also one by one, grid by grid, we also prepared these whole data for Sekban Demirli. This is the digitalization of Sekban Demirli EnviMet area, a digitized version. You can see these panels. We also defined the solar panels one by one with some components like glass, like, for example, dark colored surfaces of solar cells. you need to define these whole materials one by one to the program, to the software. These are the green vegetation part, soiling part, and this is the village also part. And after that, we run some simulations. And after that, we take some results. Firstly, we compare these two data. This is calculated by EnviMet after simulation. And this one is calculated again by EnviMet. Yes, sorry. It is the diffuse radiation. Then we also, the summation of these results is here, global radiation, based on the results taken by EnviMet. But this is the weather station trees measurements. You know, this station is actually the indicator of photovoltaic heat island effect. It's here. But interestingly, they are also total, also their numbers are not so, can be comparable between each other, not so different from them. So we can say that the EnviMet results are not so odd, not so unrelated when we compare the field data. So we say that we can verify, we can also trust the EnviMet's also results. If you have, for example, if you do not have a meteorological station to understand this effect. So we also try to understand these results in a different day. This for 20 July, but this for example, 11 June in again 2020. And again, it's not so far results, similar results. And after that, because of lacking of an albedo meter, because we don't have an albedo meter, a reflective meter, we need to compare these results in EnviMet. Yes, we can measure the incoming radiation, diffuse radiation, but an albedo meter or a pyranometer, for example, we because of the budget limitations, we couldn't also install these devices. You can see that between these, they are from the natural grants serve reflections from sandy soil and also global radiation values. And when we divide these two parts, we also see the reflection coefficient here and another reflection coefficient here. This from the PV modules, but this from the natural grant. From these pink parts, natural grant, but from the PV modules here, you can see a very specific, also a very distinct also difference here. Half as much as this part. So we understand that yes, PV modules, because of their natural, because of their component structure, yes, they need to also reflect the light less than from a sandy soil. We understand this, and again, this is a very strong indicator for photovoltaic heat island effect cause. Again, a different example from 11 June. And these are the temperature differences. Again, we verified these differences. This is the field data. Then we measured this part and this part outside the part. We also measure this. But according to the EnviMet, according to the simulation, we also detect this difference. Yes, they are again close, not very far from each other. We can say that we again trust EnviMet in this simulation. Also, simulation can support this data, this field data for 20 July. Also for 11 June, again, some close results here. This time, this is the module temperature, and on this date is the module temperature. Yes, you can see this. The module temperature also had already increased a very high also rates. We can see. So because of these module temperatures, we can experience the modules, the atmospheric conditions of Sekban Demirel experiences these differences. Both with both according to the results of EnviMet and also for the according to the results of field data. And last but not least, nighttime air temperatures. A colder, you can see part for the outside, for the inside. A colder part inside the central station, but warmer for the outside station. Differences, you can see this minus because a colder part, a negative heat island, and a negative but less effective heat island effect for during the nighttime. And again, the other parts for this September time, again, the negative the value for the outside, because this is because of the direction of the difference, and a colder part and a warmer part, again, a less effective and negative heat island effect. Night times, yes, we can say no heat island effect for this power caused by this power plant. And my last slide. Yes, we provide the data reliability for this study. Some statistical significance, yes, we found, especially when we include this third station to the study. But these stations are very close to each other, and these weather station 2 especially is on a location we're already having less module density, but this is a very large module density because of its location, because it's the central location. And also for some temporal photovoltaic heat island formations, they are temporal because their also effect, their also effect area, influence area can be also changed according to the seasons and also the daytimes. Because of this, we say them daily photovoltaic or nightly photovoltaic heat island effect, or monthly, for example. Their temperature generally of the field center tends to be warmer, up to 6 centigrade degrees for this station, power plant station, but tends to be colder generally during night times, we already say. Monthly maximum and monthly minimum and diurnal ambient air temperature variations also supports all of our data we already found. These are some specific frequencies, as you all see on the correlation slide, Spearman and according to Spearman and Pearson correlations. And yes, local winds are being capable to reduce these formations because they are natural coolers. They are also the natural capability to cool these modules. But because of this orientation of PV modules and the interaction is very important, because of them, unfortunately, for this station, they cannot be effective. We already said, and last but not least, the simulation outputs also can be comparable in the microclimatic simulation of ENVIMET. This is the first study in ENVIMET, I can say, because the ENVIMET is generally used for the city-based urban heat island effect studies, and we also started this type of studies in ENVIMET. I hope the other researchers, colleagues also, again, use the ENVIMET for this type of purposes, this type of also environmental, understanding the environmental effects, I can say. And I think I also extend my time. Sorry, and thank you very much for your all for your attention. It's a very big and also very also interdisciplinary topic, a multidisciplinary topic. So I hope I try to also give its interesting parts as much as I can do in an efficient manner. Thank you all for your again attention. Thank you.
So thank you, Dr. Emre Demirezen. I hope I pronounced the Turkish name very
right. Thank you, right, Dr. Enay.
So let's give Salim Omar the floor to.
I think, Doctor, nothing there. There is links. Let me check. Yes, links from Prof. Greg. So the participant, they can get in it, who are with us in the platform. Good links related what his speech. And thanks for Alia also. And thanks from other participants to the speakers. So go ahead, Prof. Ahmed.
Oh, I think the talk is very important. I hope the students in Morocco, they will learn a lot, because that's the way to make the energy transition and energy efficiency for everywhere, especially the MENA region. And I want to thank you very much, and congratulations to young Turkish graduate student and new freshly doctor from Ankara and from I believe you are working also with Professor Rashid. And
right.
So I'm very
We
happy.
also sent greetings from Turkey, Professor Turan and Professor Akınoğlu. They also again will wait for new also projects, new conferences. They are eager to see them again, see all of you again.
Thank you. I hope to be healthy, that I can participate to your conference, but for the moment I'm a little bit very concerned. So therefore, if I'm okay, I will try to be there. I hope so. So if there is any questions about the talk of our colleague from Ankara. So anyway, if somebody has something to say from Casablanca, there is the name there is the biography hanged on the expo, and they can write to him if they want, or to write to me, and then I can follow this. So thank you very much for coming, and hope you will help us in the virtual learning university in the future, anytime. And we will invite you again if you want to give some lecture in our virtual learning university in the future. You can come and be with us. Thank you very much. Thank you.